even more of an appreciation for what Ed Wood was going through with his flying saucers over Hollywood and
Yeah, because that was in
flying saucers.
1959, and the saucers explode and everything, and you're like, okay, well, you could do that in a nonlinear editing software nowadays, but back then it was like just just they had to do it all on film. Like everything was done that way.
A stick and some string and a pie pan.
Uh-huh.
Did they weren't you? Isn't there like the movie Plan 9? There's just a movie called Plan 9, and I believe you had a role in that. Is that kind of like the remake of Plan 9 from Outer Space, or is it something completely different?
Yeah, as the director John Johnson, as he would put it, it was sort of like a chance to make the movie more like how Ed Wood might have made it if he had more money. Although that movie, the remake, was actually pretty low budget too. I think more than Ed Wood's budget, but it was still very low budget in comparison with other mainstream films. So it's different. It's a very different kind of tone and everything, but it does drop little jokes about the first movie here and there. Like there's little references to it. But largely it's like a different kind of thing. And I play a police officer in it. I'm actually the role of that Conrad Brooks played in the first one.
Okay.
Although it's different. So yeah, it's a small role in there, but that was a good experience. That was really fun going down there and working with all those people. Actually, I went down there again recently. It was the first time I've seen any of them in 5 years. We shot something for the Seventh Guest TV series.
Mm-hmm.
Or I think it's going to be a web series. I'm not sure. But once again, I play a police officer in that too. And it's really low budget. But we shot some pretty cool locations. There was this jail cell that we were in, this like old rotten, abandoned jail cell. That was pretty cool. So I'm just rambling now. I'm just going.
Hey, that's funny. Chief was actually talking about how because he came across your anime appearance, your and Doug's anime appearance.
Yeah, I didn't know about
for
that.
the first time today.
Yeah, that was just one of those things somebody did as like a tribute, like it was something we didn't know about till people pointed it out to us.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
I think Doug and I actually took a picture of ourselves in that same pose, like the live action version. That was a while back. I don't know where that is though. It might be on Doug's Facebook or something like that.
I was gonna pull. Didn't have time to. I was also gonna pull out for Chief your appearance in the Sonic the Hedgehog fan film.
Oh yeah,
which I actually thought was really, really well done film. I thought, and I think Doug's in there also. I think he plays like one of the soldiers or something.
Yeah,
Chief, remind me, I have to send that one to you.
Yeah, Eddie LeBron. He's really talented, and I was gonna say something I forget. Jaleel White. Jaleel White's in it too.
Yeah, he came back to voice Sonic, which I thought was really, really cool because I always loved it. To me, his voice is Sonic because I grew up during that time period where I was playing Sonic and I was watching Sonic on Saturday mornings.
Yeah, it always amazes me when somebody does a fan film of a video game or something, because it's so much commitment. Like to do it well like that, it's so much commitment, and then it's like it's not your idea. Like it's a different, it's like a franchise that exists already.
Yeah,
so, like you can't, like sell it and things like that. So it's always like such a big commitment to do that, just for like fan love. You know what I mean?
I think somebody did a Metroid one. I think maybe a year or two ago.
Yeah, it was last year. Sam Balcom, I think that's how you say his last name. He Rainfall Films. He did some effects for me on the Nerd movie, and then he also did effects on the Jekyll and Hyde trailer. And I think during that time, he was just finishing up the Metroid film. And yeah, same thing. Like that's where like it's a lot of commitment. It's done really well. Yeah.
I've never really thought about that. That for something like a lot of these fan films, you can't market that in any way at all. You're just doing that to kind of show off your skill and your love of what it is.
Yeah, and it costs money.
It is dedication.
It is.
And I guess that raises the question: if you could have a video game fan film other than Jekyll and Hyde, because I know you did Jekyll and Hyde.
Yeah.
What game would you like to take on?
Oh, probably something nobody cares about, like Jekyll and Hyde. That was kind of why.
I was thinking I would take on Calibri on the 32X. I would just have the Hummingbird first-person shooter game.
Oh, wow.
Movie. I think that would be in a Pixar style.
What was the arcade game that the video with Doug Walker and yourself
Ninja Baseball
and
Batman?
Andre?
Oh.
Yeah, there you go. Ninja Baseball Batman.
Wow. Yeah, that game needs to like get released first, I guess, and then they need to make a movie of it.
Right.
But you know what, though? I always thought of Castlevania. I always thought, what would I do with a Castlevania movie? And
that's one I'm surprised that nobody has tackled yet, as a big mainstream film.
There was always there was a rumor that they were going to do it, or I don't know. I think it was beyond rumor. It was actually like getting made at one point, but I don't know, something happened. But I always pictured the opening scene being sort of like the scene in the beginning of Symphony of the Night, where it opens with him fighting Dracula, and Belmont goes up the steps, and then he, it's got that epic shot with the moon. And it just begins with this big action scene.
Right.
Goes in there, and Dracula's begins the dialogue by like facing away from him, so you're just looking at Dracula's back. And then he turns around, and it's Christopher Lee.
Oh.
And, that was always before Christopher Lee died.
Yeah.
But, I mean, they brought Peter Cushing back in Star Wars just now.
Yeah.
So anything could happen. But, I mean, like, his voice, though, is like, it would have just been perfect.
We're good friends with Mark Ordesky, the executive producer of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and when Christopher Lee died, we had him on the show, Mark, to talk about his experiences working with Chris and on the Hobbit movies and the Lord of the Rings films, and just the stories he would tell about Christopher and the things he would do on set and his heavy metal albums.
I was going to bring that up. He told a story about Christopher Lee said that when he gets stabbed in the back as Saruman in Lord of the Rings, that Peter Jackson had told him to act a certain way when he was stabbed. And Christopher Lee said, well, that's not how a person acts when they get stabbed in the back. And he's like, well, how do you know? Well, Christopher Lee was like on some kind of like anti-Nazi hunting squad back in, I mean, I guess he's really stabbed dudes in the back. So he knows what a guy getting stabbed in the back.
And he's done it before on film. Dracula Has Risen from the Grave. He pretty much gets stabbed through the back with the cross. In the same way, he falls on it.
That would be so.
He probably told the guy the same thing. Well, yeah, I stabbed a guy, and this is what he does.
I mean, that's actors. You take things from real life, and wow, that's some crazy real life there.
Yeah, right.
That's such a great guy. Like you said, they brought Peter Cushing back. There's no telling who we're going to end up seeing in films.
Yeah,
in the next 10 years.
Yeah, that blew my mind. That was really something I never considered before. Like like all the moral things about it. I mean, I think Peter Cushing, his family signed off and everything, but from what I know. So, like, I think, like, as long as you can get somebody to, like, vouch for it. But I guess it's a case-by-case.
Right. Or, I mean, every last relative is gone, and they're just, public domain now. Their image. So maybe in time, you could recreate anybody, too, with technology. Anybody who got a voice track, you could pick certain words, you can animate them.
And I was wondering that
you can bring back anybody from the dead.
Yeah. I was wondering that, of course, with Carrie Fisher just passing away, and they still have luckily the second movie is the second next trilogy movie is done, but you still have the third one. How what would they do with that? Could they bring her back as a CG like they did with Cushing or not?
Yeah.
Of course, now Hammer could just bring back Lee and Cushing and make a whole new slew of Hammer Dracula films.
Oh my God, that would be the best thing ever.
So, oh yeah, it'd be kind of weird, and who knows? If a whole movie, it might be a little disturbing after a little while.
Yeah, because it seems like it's at the point where it works in short bursts. Like I think at the Leia part in Rogue One was perfect. It was just short, and like, you know, her face I think may have been easier to do because her face was like just so like you know, smooth. But Peter Cushing's face, like how he's got lots of wrinkles and everything, and he looked good, except like when it kept going on, like the first scene, it was like perfect. But then as it went on and on and on, I started to notice like, okay, the mouth, I can see how it's like,
you
know,
right. After so long of looking at that, I would notice that it would be glaringly obvious after an hour that I'm looking at a cartoon.
Yeah, like if they kept it short, then it would have been, you know, there'd been no problem at all.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. You can get away with it a little bit, but if you keep showing it to the it's kind of this in the same way. Like with I can't remember who it was, Tom Savini or Greg Nicotero said zombies are scary in short bursts or something. If you just focus in on them for a long time, people are gonna get kind of sick of looking at it. I mean, you can you can't really focus in on a monster too long, or people just get used to it, and it doesn't have the same effect. Maybe something along those lines, or just talking shit. I don't know.
There's so many zombies nowadays that it's just, like they're not.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
I guess I want to ask also because this is kind of because you've it's very well known your love of the Universal monster films, and with Universal now creating a new shared universe of their monsters, starting with the Mummy with Tom Cruise. How do you feel about that? Have you seen the trailer for Tom Cruise's Mummy film?
Oh, I did. Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited to see the monsters all come back again. But it seemed I'm not ready to get excited yet because what I want to see is all the monsters together in one movie, and it's going to take a while for it to get to that point if they're trying to do like one movie at a time and build up to it. You know, like. The DC films, like they're you know, rushing to get to Justice League to catch up with Marvel. You know, Marvel had all that time. They did the one movie. They did Iron Man. They did the Hulk and everything, and then put them all together. But now everybody else is just racing to catch up. But the Mummy trailer, I mean, I'm not sure where exactly they're going with it because it's not really scary looking, and it's not really. Like, you know, the Brendan Fraser ones, how it was just like this fun action adventure movie. This one seems like it's sort of trying to do an action movie, but it's also not like a horror movie. Like, I don't know. It's like I'm not really sure what the vibe is going to be with it.
I think
it's going to be long too. Isn't it supposed to be like really long or something, like a big epic type movie, or is it just?
Oh, I'm not sure.
It's supposed to be something like that. I know that the constant between a lot of the films will be Tom Cruise's character is going to be one of the constants, and the fact that Russell Crowe is playing Dr. Jekyll in it. So I'm interested to see how the great Oscar-winning actor we know as Russell Crowe plays the duality of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Yeah, I bet he'd be pretty good.
Yeah, I could imagine he's probably pretty good at it.
I think Jekyll Hyde's one of those characters that a lot of actors aspire to play because it's like, you know, you get such a big range with Jekyll and Hyde. You go from, you know, each of those characters, like you have a lot to sort of, you know, show off.
You had mentioned
it's an extreme range.
You had mentioned earlier the Oz reviews that you've done, and I showed them to my wife actually yesterday because she's a huge Oz fan. Especially, she loves Return to Oz, the film. She absolutely loves that movie. So when you were talking about how it starts off all dark with Dorothy in the asylum, she's just sitting there going, "That's one of the best parts.
Yeah,
that's what makes it so great."
Oh, it is. Yeah, it's like as an adult, you appreciate how dark and twisted that movie is. As a kid,
go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, I was reading, because I watched Emerald City, because you had mentioned Emerald City was coming on, and luckily it was on Hulu, so I watched the first 2 episodes of Emerald City.
Mm-hmm.